Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia, and it's Friday, yay! And welcome to all our new viewers, and welcome for everyone who comes every morning. It's wonderful to see you here. I sincerely hope that this week you've learnt information that you can build your awareness around and increase your recovery into remission even more quickly. Or no, speed isn't the essence, but certainly help you to feel and know that you're moving forward in where you want to be in life as well. It's been an incredible week, and I've certainly learnt and discovered even more, and I've really enjoyed doing some trauma-informed movement this week, and it actually has helped me to have the best night's sleep last night. It's been a long time since I've slept really well, and I'm so happy that I've had a good night's sleep. How about you? How's the sleep going? Because it's definitely something that we're all challenged by. You'd be a rare person that hasn't had sleep challenges with complex PTSD. So this morning I want to share some information with you which you can either be a family member or a friend that is looking for ways to help somebody that you know with complex PTSD, or you have it yourself and you want to help others identify what's happening for them. Because one of the things in this world, good morning, that is very predominant is that we don't have enough language around what's happening with mental health challenges. We haven't been educated in how we can know when somebody else is struggling and how we can reach out. And one of the most, it's not the simplest because it takes consistency and commitment to understand, but certainly one of the easiest things that we can do is teach ourselves how to just sit and be with somebody and listen. One of the things I've taught myself to do is ask, are you okay? Now, I know there's a whole program around are you okay? But most people will say, yes, I'm fine. And we have to honour that. We have to honour that process and just say, look, I am here. I've struggled. You don't have to go into any details at all. I've struggled and I'm here if you ever need somebody who can just sit with you and listen. That is the first base with everybody in the world, is just to be the person that's willing to sit and listen. We don't have to have the solutions. We don't have to know how to take that person anywhere except just sit and be with them and listen. And if it's someone like me, a box of Kleenex, because we've gone through life where through no fault, it's just the way society has been in the generations before us. Nobody talked about how they felt, okay? It just was what it was, and we're the first generation to pick up the pieces and start saying we need to be talking about this a lot more. Okay, so let's grab our infographic this morning. And let's have a look at the things that we can be noticing and how we can be talking about them as well. Or how we can have the language that we can express to family and friends around us and say, this is what's happening for me. It's part of anxiety, and this is what I need in order to move through this process. So if I'd understood this and I was out in public and I was having an anxiety attack, I would have just said, look, I'm okay. It's just I'm having an anxiety attack right now and I just need to keep moving through this. Because I didn't start going out in public until I knew that I'd be able to stay in the feelings of the anxiety attack and keep moving through them. Now I'm a lot wiser and I actually ring my friends and say, look, this is what's happening and this is what I need to work through. This is my goal. The one thing we don't do is have what I call verbal diarrhea all over somebody, especially if they've never experienced mental health challenges. We don't go, this is what's happening and blah, 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 and I'm feeling it over and over and over and over. sorry. My computer just sent through a notice saying, we're going to restart your computer. I'm like, no, you're not. So we don't sit there and repeatedly, now I'm not talking about one-offs, I'm talking about over and over and over and over again. We don't continually tell someone what our problem is. We make them feel terrible if we continually do this because they don't know how to help us. What we need to do as adults is be responsible and say, yes, absolutely, this is what's happening. But we need to let somebody else, the person that's with us, we need to let them know what we need. Okay? If we continually tell somebody what's wrong with us and we're not looking for ways around it, then we're hurting them. These are people that love and appreciate us, and we're expecting them to be somebody that they're not. We go to professionals to talk about it if we need to over and over again until we can have that breakthrough. But the most important thing we can do with complex PTSD is say, I need to develop a strategy, or this is what keeps happening and I can't quite see where I need to go with this. And just ask for some input. They may have some suggestions that we've never thought of. And one of the things that does go offline when we are triggered is our perception. So we do need help in being able to see what we can't see, okay? But for this morning, we're going to perception in a whole other chat show. But for this morning, as we go through, there's two things we can be doing. We can be looking at the list and thinking about what's happening for us, or we can be looking at the list and going, I can see that happening for my family or friend member, or friend, and I can go, ask the question, is this happening for you? And, how can we go about developing a strategy? Like, it's a communication, it's interpersonal. How can we develop a strategy? And the strategy doesn't have to be 100% on the nail, hit the nail on the head, all right? The strategy just has to be the first step. It doesn't have to be multi-level, complex. It just has to be the first step. How can we walk through this together and take the one next step? And in that way, you're building a really healthy relationship that you're opening up. The person with complex PTSD then begins to feel that they're comfortable. They can open up and say, right, let's do this together. Let's see what works and what doesn't work for me personally. Okay? We can't ever give anybody else that burden to fix us. All right? We've got to be the adult and take the steps. So overthinking is something I really relate to that I used to do I could create a mountain in a moment with overthinking. Definitely. And we do this because when we're sitting in the emotional centre, the amygdala, we're not connected to the prefrontal cortex, and it can be impossible to stop thinking, all right, because we're trying to connect into the part of us that actually will help us put the emotions in order. And when we don't know this, we just keep thinking and thinking and thinking because we haven't hooked into the part of our brain, literally, that will help us put it in an order. So having someone else around us that can help us put things in an order can be so helpful, all right? One of the obvious signs is sweating or perspiration. Trust me, I've done mountains of it, and it's not pretty, but when if you're standing in air conditioning and someone is absolutely perspiring in front of you, just gently ask, should we go and sit down and just take a breather? You don't have to point to the fact that it may or may not be anxiety. Grab them a drink of water, something like that. Something very, very simple, all right? And it will help go, right, I recognise. You don't have to say straight on, I recognise this is what's happening for you, but just simply do something that can take them out of the current situation. All right, stomach issues. I haven't been a great stomach issues person, but I know many people who are. and it can point to anxiety. Again, look at what you can do as the first step. Now, the first step may not be addressing the physical issues. It may be sitting down and going, what was the trigger that started? What's the stress, the overwhelming stress that started the trigger into having an upset stomach? All right. So yes, doing gut health does help. Of course, it's going to help in the physical, but in order to rewire the brain, we have to sit down and go, well, what was the trigger? Be building that awareness, that deeper awareness into what is the overwhelming stress that's triggering my body to have an upset stomach or pain in my stomach, okay? And actually it can be pain in a lot of different parts of the body as well. People, when we're having trouble breathing, when we're triggered, definitely we're going to either hyper or hypovigilance, all right? So we are shallow breathing. And if we're having even more difficulty breathing than just down to the shallow breathing, then definitely sit down. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, do you remember in, I don't know, when we went to school and somebody was upset, they used to bring out a paper bag and get somebody to breathe in it to help them get their breath back. And it worked. You may not want to do that, but just slow down the breathing. 5 seconds in, and even if you need to count the 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out, but keep the breathing regular. And the other thing too is get the person to speak out words. So one of the things I use for my clients is the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, and just say that one word extra each time, and that actually does help the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system slow down. And if you get to the end of it and you still haven't, keep doing it over and over again, because it hooks right in to the vagus nerve to calm everything down, okay? Definitely you can see when somebody's having a panic attack, all right? One of the basic things is they look scared, all right? And they feel out of control, and you can see their body, their body's not in a nice relaxed state. It's actually very stiff, all right? And everything feels out of control for them. So again, ask what do they need, and they may not be able to answer you, but they may be able to nod their head. So some of the things that they can need is back to the simple things like a drink of water. Do you need to leave this building? Do you need to sit in an enclosed room? If you're in an enclosed room, do you need to get out of this room? And just look at the environment around you and discern how you can shift that environment, okay? If you're outside in nature, do you need to go sit in the car? Just changing the environment will change what the senses are picking up, and so it makes it easier for the person to begin to normalise what's happening inside their body for them, okay? Insomnia, oh my goodness. Everyone around the world put their hand up and said, yes, me too. Insomnia, first of all, see your GP and see what help you can get. And some GPs are aware of services that you are able to get a hold of that help you with sleep. So sometimes you need to go and do the sleep apnea clinic. Sometimes you need to do sleep hygiene. Now, sleep hygiene is something you can Google, and there's one in the UK that does sleep hygiene really well. So don't just look for the basics that everybody knows. Go for the sleep hygiene that will actually help you put into an order the process that you have before sleep. One of the things that you do is get rid of electronics out of your bedroom, because time can just pass in that void too easily. Have a strict bedtime. Read something that is relaxing, that makes you feel good, all right, and you can put it down. Journaling is really good before sleep to help get rid of the day's stress. So just simply sit there and write about all the things that were stressful today. If you've got insomnia, there's guaranteed that things that are emotionally stressful for you, that it will help if you write them down, and then you can look at, well, could I do that different? Would I want to do that different? So it's learning to get rid of everything that's emotionally stressful as you journal, but it's also teaching our body and brain that at this time we go to bed and at this time we go to sleep. I've had professionals say to me, don't journal in bed, don't drink tea in bed, don't drink in bed, as in water, anything. Just go to bed and go to sleep. I have had a habit for well over 30 years now of going to bed and journaling, and it really works for me. So do what works for you. If you need to do everything before bed, then do that. Or if you have something that you can do in bed that is really nourishing to you, that does help you relax, do that. But the one thing I definitely have done is ban my phone from my room, okay? I actually went out and bought a little clock that's run on batteries so that I could set my alarm and not have my phone in my room, because it is such a big distraction. I'm so guilty of it. Memory issues are definitely there with anxiety. Being triggered, we don't have access to a lot of our memory, and there's a whole brain thing involved with that. But don't worry about it. It can be rebuilt. If you want to rebuild memory, do brain exercises as well. They really help. Online, you can do, just search for, why did that just go straight out of my head? Finally, we're doing memories. When I was studying for my counselling diploma, I used to sit there and for an hour each day I would do brain training on the internet, and it really did help my brain start to reconnect. So the whole thing is we have to work at the body and brain level and get them back into an order, and that helps us stay online emotionally and keep everything going. A lack of focus, oh yeah. I so can relate to this one, but you'll notice a lack of focus if you're with somebody around you and they're always off. They can't maintain their focus in what's happening right in front of them, okay? And it's not them personally. Believe me, all of this stems from what's happening in our brain at the neurological and biological, which impacts the physiological. So we can see all of these things at the physiological level, in the physical, but we've got to understand that it's the neurological and biological that when we work with it as well, it helps get our brain, keep the amygdala and prefrontal cortex online by keeping the limbic system constant, okay? Lack of patience. And every mother in the world said, oh yeah, I get it. But it's a lack of patience that goes on and on and on and on. And it's incredibly frustrating because as mothers, the last thing we want to be is impatient. It's not who we are as mums. It's not who we are as people. But lack of sleep will do it every single time. All right? It is hard to have a group of kids around you and have patience when you cannot put the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex aren't working together. All right? Everything becomes highly emotional. And for me, when I ran out of patience, I'd have tears as well because it was so incredibly frustrating because I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't understand that things like hunger, anger, lonely, tiredness, predominantly tiredness. Tiredness is my greatest trigger ever. But tiredness as a parent can be represented in anxiety. And we do need to find ways. And yes, even as a single mum, if our kids go down, we go down. All right? Because it means that when we wake up, our brain is freshly connected, online and ready to go. And that's healthier than saying, no, I've got to get everything done and I'm a single mum and no. My health is my priority so that I can take care of my kids. When they have a sleep, I have a sleep. Then when we get up, and especially if they're, 2 years and up, 3 years and up, get them involved in helping clean up. They might not have a great degree of focus, But if they're helping pick up their toys, you're teaching them a great skill. If you're helping bring their awareness into, we've got to do the shopping, or we've got to do the washing, we've got to clean the floors, etc. You're helping build an awareness into them of things that need doing in life, but you can make it fun too. Constant worrying. Constant worrying used to cause migraines that were beyond belief. Fortunately, I've learnt not to do that. If you know somebody who's constantly worrying, then you want to sit down and have a really healthy conversation with them. If you need a healthcare professional with them, then do so, because the constant worrying, not only is it not healthy, but it is a sign of anxiety, and it is a sign that we need to sit down and develop some strategies in their day-to-day life in order that things become manageable. So remember, with complex trauma, the brain developed with the fear response, not with this is manageable response. So people who haven't experienced trauma and they see and situations that arrive that need, things putting in order, they need to be managed, they do it automatically. Whereas people who've come through dysfunction and toxic families, their brain is wired into the fear response straight away, okay? So we need to have some compassion and understanding that it's not anybody's fault. It's how the brain got wired. Okay, I hope that helps. And if you're experiencing anxiety, take one thing at a time to build an awareness. Take one thing to build new strategies around. You can do this. I absolutely believe in you, and I know you can do this. Go to a health professional and say, this is what's happening. I need a strategy around this, and I need you to help me see what I can't see in order to build this strategy, okay? Strategies are the way that we come up and out of complex PTSD and go from recovery to remission. Remember, tell people what you need. Don't expect them to know. And that way you keep your friendships, your relationships. And people love to help other people, okay? Have a gorgeous weekend, and I will be back Monday. Bye for now.